Welcome to this special episode of RGBA. Instead of a colorful tech news and reviews, it's a colorful movie review. All right, so let's jump right in our little movie review. Before discussing exactly how we felt about the movie, what was your situation in regards to spoilers, leaks, trailers, teasers?
I had no spoilers. I went on the Thursday night. I think the movie comes out on like the Friday, but they always have a couple of showtimes on this Thursday night. I had one spoiler, kind of, sort of. My brother heard somebody say, like the Lightspeed vessel thing is really cool, but that's all I knew. But then after seeing the movie now, you know what that means. But at the beginning I was like, okay, let's just forget that because it's 20 minutes before the movie and you just ruined it.
That's a bad brother, man. You should kick his ass.
Yeah, but he didn't know.
All right. Yeah, so for me, no trailers, nothing. Only saw the very first teaser and the poster, of course. And I had no spoilers. Except for the Porg. So this is the only thing I saw running around the internets beforehand. But no idea what scenario was. No idea what special scenes they were in, who would be dying or not, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I was pretty virgin when I got there. So, and what is your excitement once you were in the theater, ready to see that Lucasfilm thing? Were you like expecting great things? Were you like maybe scared that it won't live up to the fame? Or
No, I wouldn't say I was scared. Not that I don't care, but like the people that get mad at the movies are getting bad, or the new movie's bad, or the old movies was better, and whatever. Like just get used to it, because there's going to be a bunch of Star Wars movies that are going to be added in the coming years and everything. So there's going to be good ones and there's going to be bad ones, and let's just be happy that we have more Star Wars content.
Yeah, I feel probably the same. This is the very first time since I can remember that once I was sitting in the theater and waiting for that Lucasfilm thing, that I did not have this little weight on my chest, like of anxiousness, like looking forward so much to this movie, because I wasn't there because I was too young for the initial release. But when they did the re-release in theaters, I was able to get to the very first screening for all three movies in Montreal at the Angrignon Commercial Center. That was the very first screening, which was at, I think it was like noon or something. So we had the whole shebang with people dressed up and lightsaber fights on the stage and everything. So it was an amazing moment just to be able to be in the theater and see that Lucasfilm and the scroll. So I was super happy, super hyped, super pumped. For Force Awakens, same thing. I was feeling exactly the same thing. I was super happy. I was looking forward to this. It was like a finally moment. But for this one, it was different. I was not super anxious. I was not super looking forward for it. I said, yeah, it's one of those 25 extra Star Wars movies I'll see in the rest of my life. So
25.
It's just like, it's just like an episode, a TV episode at this point, because it's still Star Wars. It's still special to my heart, but I know it's the first of a long line of movies. And even the Star Wars stories, which were supposed to be like every odd year, now the next one will be in May. So it's already been brought forward like 6 months, 7 months even. So instead of being in December, it's in May. So we'll get the Han Solo story in May. So I'm expecting maybe something else in December, and then next year will be the episode 9, and then 2 more stories in the following year, and then another trilogy. And so the state of mind was not the same. So I wasn't sad about this, but I was just like, oh, that's peculiar. I was expecting me to be so hyped, and then I wondered why I felt like that. So,
Are you sure it's in May, this one?
Yeah, I saw a poster, not a poster, but the poster and a review yesterday saying that they had problems with the way that the movie was going. They didn't like the main actor, and he had to get a coach hired and something. But they were still releasing for May.
The Last Jedi was supposed to be last summer, like summer 2017.
Yeah, but the news was from yesterday, and they say it was May 2018. So
Okay, so cool.
Yeah, so only 5 more months, 4 months and a half, let's say, to get your hands on a new Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
One day is going to be every month.
Yeah, they're coming in fast. It's like you said, it's actually like a TV show now.
And I think it's already crossed the $1 billion revenues. And that's like in what, like 3 weeks, 2 weeks? So they made 500 millions in the US and 500 millions abroad. So they're already in a $1 billion industry movie. So, and it's only been like 2 weeks. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it worked.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a profitable venture for
Yeah,
Disney.
for Disney.
All right, so starting with the movie, what is your overall appreciation of this? Was it like a good movie, bad movie? Were you like deceived or sad about something? Or
I feel like I need to rewatch it again. I've been saying that since I just came out of the movies because I have mixed feelings. And through listening to a bunch of podcasts and reviews and reading stuff online and talking to like friends and family, everybody has their own version and people don't like. And I'm not sure yet. I think I mostly liked. I have these little nitpicks like you've had with any movie, but there's overall, I think I really liked the movie. I enjoyed the movie.
yeah, cool. I feel the same. Also, I also only saw it once, so I'm pretty looking forward to see the whole thing at home, relaxed on my couch. Because the one thing that bugs me more and more is the quality of the image at the cinema. I was looking at this during this movie, and oftentimes on the sides, I don't know if it's like a barrel distortion from the lens from the projector, but it's all fuzzy on the side. So a few times I was looking around for details in quieter scenes to see like, oh, here's a creature that does something in the background in the corner here, but it was always super fuzzy. So that was pissing me off. So I'm looking forward the Blu-ray release with the high quality and the 4K content and everything, so I could exactly feel not better, but just like to have like a definitive answer for that. But for sure, I like the movie. It was fun. I also have nitpicks, but overall, it's a great story. It took like a different path of what I was expecting, and I was surprised a couple times, which is great. So pretty happy with it.
And yeah, we both saw it in 3D.
Oh no 2D for me, man. That 3D because you don't see details. So I use always where I can. It's never 3D. It's just plain old regular.
Okay. You're really swearing in this one. It's going to be tough.
Oh yeah. Sorry, man. Those you get me all pumped up about Star Wars.
Especially on this last 3D bit.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I saw it in 3D because it's the only way you can reserve your seats in the first days, like the first showings. And they're all in 3D anyways.
I just got my kids packed up like an hour in advance, and we got there like 45 minutes in advance, and we were able to get any seats we wanted. So that's my technique there to get.
And you saw it between Christmas and New Year's?
Yeah.
So it's been out like 2 weeks.
Oh, it was already jam packed. Like there were maybe 10 seats left in the whole theater, and they were random like singles seats here and there. And the last people to get in while they were rolling the credits and everything, not the credits, but the ads and everything, they had to they came in like in a pack of 4 or 5, and they had to split around to be able to sit. So that's exactly what I didn't want to. So that's why I came in earlier. So.
Okay.
And also thanks to my points, it only cost me $17.
Yeah, because or else it's like I think it's 15 or 16 for us per ticket.
Yeah. It's 8 per kid. I had my 2 kids, and I had a free ticket for me, so I only had like $16. Well, it's 8. Yeah, it's $8.50, so it's $17. All right, so going on, we'll do this like scene by scene, or do you have anything else to add before we get into this crazy thing that is Star Wars?
You can go we can go chronologically.
All right, so I've got the plot here, thanks to Wikipedia, because I wasn't able to find exactly a scene-by-scene cutout. So we'll go right in. So one of the first scenes we see is Poe Dameron going around a big First Order fleet, shooting cannons and everything, trying to be like the hero he wants to be, like maybe like a knucklehead because he didn't want to think but just want to axe and shoot and run and gun. So that's what we see. What else to say about this? It's classic Poe Dameron.
He's calling. Did you like the whole part of him
Oh yeah, yeah,
calling?
yeah. Yeah, I forgot that
Like
part.
I'm waiting. I'm holding for what's his name? The guy from
General
Harry
Hux.
Potter. Yeah, for Hux. I'm
Yeah.
holding for it. But he says hugs, no? Doesn't he say
Yeah, hugs.
hugs?
He says hugs, yeah. He's just trying to win some time.
Yeah, so we have all that thing that I find it a little weird that it brings back to like our world, if you want, like the real universe we live in, like holding on
Yeah.
the phone and all that. I don't know if they do that in a Star Wars universe, but at least they do it now. So that was kind of weird. I found it's not like Star Warsy, if you want, the whole holding, like if he's waiting for customer service or something.
Yeah, it didn't strike me at first, but when I listened back to podcasts discussing this, people were getting hamped up about this. Um, it's a gag. They have to introduce humor here and there, and I think it was a nice way to just say, okay, this guy needs to do something. He needs more time. How can he win some time? So that's one way to do it. Our world leaking into Star Wars or vice versa. Not something that I find disturbing. It has to be done well, and in this case, it didn't last too long to be like a pain, so it was perfect, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of jokes in this one, but one other thing I wanted to add, I saw it at the theater, and there was like 4 or 5 guys in the back of me, and they kept laughing and like making noise for a bunch of stuff. So I'm also anxious to see it without like the peanut gallery in back of me, always going like ah ha 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 ha, and then like say, hey, did you see? Did you see? And I'd like to see it like alone, please. So yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see it in Blu-ray.
I was lucky this time. Last time I went to the movies, I had this kind of thing, like a kid who was playing on his iPad during the movie, and like just my watch kills people's eyes. Imagine like a 10-inch iPad fully lit, of course, with the maximum brightness, like in the row just in front of you. So I kind of got pissed off, and I said, "Put your damn iPad away, kid." And his mom was like, "Oh my god, there's a crazy guy behind. Let's put this iPad in the bag." So it worked. But this time it was nice. So there was people laughing a lot, lots of jokes that were caught by people. I think people like it. Um, I haven't heard too many like older dude voices laugh. So people were our age were probably just like concentrating on the movie and maybe overanalyzing everything. But kids were laughing like many many times.
Yeah, so that was like one of the funny part, and it's like in The Force Awakens, it starts off with Poe, and he makes this weird joke to in front of Ray, like, "Do you go first? I go first." And it's like we have the same start off as the other movies. It's Poe and being funny and being awesome.
Yeah, I like the start because it's started with an easier note. It kind of like relaxes the audience, laugh a bit or at least smirk a bit, and then move on to the story. So it's a good way to start. Like you kind of like shake your feelings if you want, and then you're ready for Star Wars. So that was good for me too.
And we also see him do a bunch of moves inside the X-wing, like actually driving the X-wing, compared to when we see him driving the X-wing, they always have the two little hands in the front and slightly moving, but he's actually working to get the ship to do like crazy maneuvers and all that. So that's another little cool bit that I liked.
Yeah, which also explains why he's such a great pilot. He probably knows the ins and outs of all the little knobs and switches and things like that. So that's great. And we will also see his flying occur a couple of times where he does nice moves. Like, for example, at one time, I think he's being pursued by TIE fighters, and he just basically like kind of pulled the handbrake and turned like 180 degrees.
Yeah.
And so that was amazing. So I don't think it's physically possible in space, but anyways, let's assume it is.
Yeah. So then there's like this big battle that occurs to break. I forget the name of the big ship.
The Dreadnought. I don't know if it has a name.
Dreadnought or whatever, something. What does Dreadnought mean? It's the name of the ship, or it's just a
No,
big
it's
ship?
just a word. It's like a big huge ship, I think.
Okay, so that's what we've been hearing all along. But yeah, so they have this big fight, and they destroy one using these bombs that fall from the sky that people are getting mad at also.
Yeah, for physics.
Yeah, but I heard, I don't know on which podcast, I forget, because it's all just a blur, but somebody was saying like there's gravity inside the ship, and then they're released with a certain velocity, and that velocity continues when it gets in space. So it kind of makes sense that they're dropping.
Yeah, that's exactly what I assumed. That's why I wasn't like crazy about. I wasn't like insulted about the idea of dropping bombs in space, because I figured that if that girl is on this little bridge
Yeah.
and she's on her back, that means that there is some gravity. So when you release the clamps, those bombs will drop. Of course, once they get out of that kind of force field, they're going straight down and they have some momentum and they're gonna fall. So that's fine by me. I was
Okay.
happy to see those B wings actually have some. I think those are B wings, right? The bombers.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah. So because we always saw those like in sketches and on shuttle pads and everything, but we never really saw those in the movies. They were always described. They were in the card games and everything, but they never really had like a good scene with them. And in this case, we had a couple B wings, a couple bombers going over, and only one surviving to be able to drop all the bombs.
And also, it dropped the bombs through the heroics of one girl that later has more like relevance, if you want.
Yeah, that's Rose's sister, right, or something.
Yes, I think sister.
Yeah, they share the same necklace. Yep. So and then we see TIE fighters led by Kylo Ren shooting the General Leia's ship, and Kylo is aiming for the bridge, and he feels that his mother's presence is there, and decides not to pull the trigger. But then other ships pull the trigger, and the bridge basically explodes. All our nice high-ranking officers die. General Akbar is no more. Leia is floating in space, getting all frozen up, like in other movies.
What did you think at that point, right there? What did you think? This is
Oh,
how she dies?
no, because I did have a spoiler that said that they filmed all of her scenes before she died, which meant that there's more than one scene. So I said, there must be something else. And also, my father was a big fan of all the Star Wars books, and he often like summarized them to me when he finished one. And I knew Leia had the Force powers, so but she never had to use them in the movies. But in all the books, she's much more powerful, and she goes through, I think, a part of a training at least, if not the full training. But she's sensible to it, and she's able to levitate stuff, and she's also is able to do mind trick and everything. So I was saying, okay, this would be a good time to use the Force and either shield herself or do something. But then when I saw her floating in space, I'm like, okay, just pull yourself back in the ship, and that's exactly what she did.
Okay, because all this force field thing is new, also, right?
Yeah.
We've never seen this power, if you want, before.
Yeah, the way they explained it, I think it was more of a limit by the special effects we had in the 70s and 80s. So the most we saw was Luke levitating his ship and rocks and stuff like that, and Yoda. But this time, the Force seems to be much more powerful than it was before. But I think it's just a matter of effects. If we had the effects we have today, 30 years ago, we would have probably the same thing.
Because I didn't really like that. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Like I didn't really like that part. I get that it's Leia, the actor is cool and awesome, and we don't want her to die that soon. But I was like, oh, okay, so that's how she dies. Okay, that's it. But then she comes back in like this weird way. It was weird. I didn't really like it.
Yeah, and the rest of the team, Poe Dameron and family, basically saw her come back to the exploded main bridge, and they opened the door. The force field in those ships is pretty weird. It's like there's nothing, but there's something. So where, as opposed to Star Trek, basically where you have like a kind of a drape that you have to go through, and you saw like some. If you can go through the force field, you see that there's something there that you need to pierce. In this a couple of Star Wars movies now, it's basically there's nothing, but you have to assume that there's something. So the force field is there to hold the atmosphere, the oxygen, but thing can go through and it's fine. So that's a little bit weird. So she gets back to the ship. She's now put into the ER room. She's being taken care of because she was probably messed up with all that cold and everything.
And also through this whole battle, we see Finn is okay. Because I think at the beginning of the movie, we see Finn like in this the same ER room as you just spoke about, Leia, but
Yep.
he's wrapped in like bags of water or something, like a water suit.
Yeah, because at the end of Force Awakens, he got a lightsaber hit to the back, so his whole back was probably slashed open and stuff. So he was probably pretty messed up that he had to stay inside those little water regenerative liquid for a couple of days, weeks, or months. I don't know. Well, it's not months, but it's probably days because both movies are ending and then starting at the exact same point. So yeah, and then we have another humor scene where he walks around instead of being in this little hospital robe that so many movies showed us as a humor bit. This time he's in this little bag of water and he's leaking water everywhere. Quite dangerous when you're in a battle situation where people are running around and trying to actually fight
Work, yeah.
and work. Yeah, so that's yeah, that was okay. I didn't laugh at this bit. It was mostly for the kids, I guess. So meanwhile, what is that? Oh yeah, the command structure goes in place, and the command falls to Vice Admiral Holdo, which is one of the worst casting in history. Like I like the actress, but for me, it's always and it will always be the girl from Jurassic Park, so the botanist. And I couldn't picture her out of that. Of course, she's older now because it's been like 25 some years since the first Jurassic Park. But still, just putting her hair purple is not enough. Like she would have needed to be like some kind of a alien or something else to be able to fit better. I would say in her role.
Yeah, and Jurassic Park was on TV during, I think, on the 31st or something. We were doing stuff around the house, and we just had the TV in the background. It was Jurassic Park marathon all day, so that was pretty funny to see her in that role after.
Yep. Yeah, so Poe is pissed about her strategy of not doing another round of attack. She has something else in mind. He's not happy. She's not in command.
First off, Poe thought he'd be the new commander. He'd be the one in charge. So you see him in the scene, and people have been talking about this too. Like his face acting, like his lack of lines, and just being able to display his feeling through emotions in his face is really good. And you can really notice that he oh no, I thought I'd had this. Who's her? Why does the girl with the purple hair get this role?
And also, he was demoted just before Leia got exploded. So that change of ranking was recorded. So when that Vice Admiral takes over, she's saying, and you know what? I know that General Leia deranked you, so you're now not the same rank as you were. So hush and let me do my job. So yeah, I think there's a part where Finn wants to run away, and he's trying to get into one of those escape pods, and he was discovered by this new actress, which we haven't seen in the Star Wars movies yet. She's playing the role of Rose Tycho, which is basically a mechanic, and she is proclaiming that her job is to tase people who are trying to flee the rebellion, basically. So she discovers that Finn is putting bags into an escape pod, and she basically tases him so that he doesn't run away. And then we have a bit, I think, with Poe and Finn and Rose trying to come up with a plan, and that does not involve the Vice Admiral because they are sure that whatever she's doing is wrong.
And we also have that Finn is trying to run away again. It's like the whole first movie, like the whole Force Awakens, all he wants to do is run. Is like, let's get out of here. Let's go to the Outer Rim. I have to leave. I've done bad stuff being in the Force Order now. I have to leave. I have to leave. Let's go.
Yep.
And he basically stays because Rose figures out that he's Finn and he's famous because of what he did in the first movie and with the big death planet, or I forget how the First Order planet is called. So that's weird. He's like, oh man, I'm like somebody here in this rebellion, but let's still leave. Let's leave.
Yep. And then we're moving on to Acto, whatever, that planet where Luke was hiding. And we have Rey, who is once again giving the lightsaber. And that led to the worst scene in the movie, in my opinion, where Luke takes a lightsaber and just throws it out behind him, like if it was a piece of cardboard or whatever.
Yeah, that got a huge laugh, but I really didn't like it either.
No, I hated it. I know the actor, that's his kind of humor and everything, and they were probably encouraged by the director to do a couple stints like that. Where how would you react, like knowing that your character and the way that you express yourself? What would you do? And I know that Mark Hamill is quite funny at times, and he also played the Joker in many animated series. So he has this little like pinchy humor, if you want, and that fit perfectly. But I didn't like it. That's not the Mark Hamill or the Luke Skywalker basically that I knew.
Right. So I second that. I second that whole argument or whatever.
Yeah. So Rey goes back to get the saber, and then she tries to basically get training from Luke. We also have a scene with this little sea cow, this big sea cow with the blue milk. I like the nod to the original Star Wars movie with the blue milk. So, but the way that it's been filmed, the way that he's like pumping milk out of this cow's and drinking this and drooling all over his beard, that was awful. It's also a scene that I could have lived without.
Yeah, the whole part on Arch 2, Egg 2, whatever.
Up to, yeah, HCH. Oh.
Yeah, that I didn't really like those whole scenes. I was like, let's get back to Poe and Finn and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I understand that he needs to be convinced to train Rey, and that he basically, at one time, I think they even said that he basically like refused the Force, like he kind of shielded himself from the Force, so that like nobody could sense his presence or could communicate with him. So he was basically like alone without any Force power or Force influence. And his mind was set that he went there not just to flee, but to die there, and so that there would be no more Jedis and no more stuff like that. I understand the whole bit. I like the bit that she has to convince him that she is tempted by the dark side with that little hole with lots of seaweed and everything. But the whole Highland thing, and now all of a sudden we just discovered that there's a bunch of frog creatures that are taking care of the island and the temples and everything. And there was funny bits when like Rey breaks stuff around and they are pissed about her. So that's fine. I had a smirk on my face. But I think they tried too many scenes with those creatures, too many like interactions there. They could have shortened that bit quite a lot. And we also have the Porg. So at one time they're flying around, at one time they're walking about, and Chewbacca even tries to eat one. And that made for another funny scene.
Yeah, he has them all like cooked up on a skewer. He has two I think that are cooked there. He's trying to eat one and there's another one on the fire. And then he doesn't eat them because the other porgs look at him and like make these big like sad eyes. And at that moment I forgot that Chewie was there. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I was like,
oh yeah,
wait,
Chewie's there.
Chewie's awesome. Why don't we see more of Chewie? And same thing for, I think R2 too is, R2 was on that ship also. And R2 actually played the old Obi-Wan Kenobi, You're My Only Hope thing from Leia in the 1976 movie there, the original Star Wars, or what's it called?
And the way it's displayed, this hologram is exactly the same way as it was with the old effects, so that's nice. Yeah, but even R2, like he appears to Luke like very late in that set of scenes, so like I think it's even like the next day or something. Like he's not even like coming out of the ship with Rey and then greeting Luke. It's like, I don't know, it's weird the way that it was all pieced together. I don't really loved this editing there. So
yeah, like let's all go see Luke. No, well, he's all our friend. He's Chewie's friend. He's R2. Like, why don't we just all get out of the Millennium Falcon and go see Luke? That was weird. That he sees him like the next day. He's like, you took the Falcon, and then he goes in and he sees everybody.
Yeah. And I don't know exactly the order, but then a couple scenes later, we basically understand what happened between Luke and Kylo Ren. Basically, he was a student of his, and he had this strength of the Force that at first was not scaring Luke. And then at one time, he saw that there's a dark side to his force power, and that scared Luke. And he was even overarching Kylo Ren with his lightsaber on, ready to strike him. But like what we saw, that's the cool thing with good actors like Mark Hamill is that first scene we saw, he was basically sad in his face and he was scared. But then later on, we see the exact same scene from Kylo Ren's perspective. And this time we see him and he was mad. He was very angry. He was ready to strike. And like basically Kylo Ren was dead at this point to him. So we have the exact same scene with two different contexts by two different people. And they interpreted the scene's emotion quite differently. And that's pretty cool.
And is it at this point that we start seeing Kylo Ren and Rey talking through a like FaceTime or Force time?
Force FaceTime, yeah.
Yeah, Force time.
Force time, yeah, exactly that time. They have kind of a link, probably because they fought on the first movie. Maybe there's also other lineage which we don't know yet. One thing I haven't really liked about this movie is that we don't have any explanation of much things. Like we'll see Snoke later on. Like we don't know who he is. We know Rey, but we don't know her parents. I was sure we were gonna get some information there. We only learned that they were drunk people and that they just sold her to drink more. Like, no, that's not an explanation. Like, your parents must be somebody. Like, you cannot have this amount of force in you and not come from a special lineage. If not your parents, maybe your grandparents or your great grandparents or something. But there must be something. Like, you must be the daughter of, I don't know, like maybe like Mace Windu's family or something. Like,
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, so there must be something, but this movie explains nothing. So that's the part I don't really like. Yeah. So yeah, they have the FaceTime thing, and they all over the movie they basically communicate like that, and they talk, they see each other, they even are able to touch each other's fingers. Yeah, there's even a shirtless scene with Adam Driver's. So yeah, that's fine. Like it makes sense because you don't do that forced FaceTime like by willingly. It's always by accident because of emotions or state of mind at the moment with both participants, and it can happen that he's shirtless at this time. So
I also like that Adam Driver or Kylo Ren, he breaks his mask after the first like 2 minutes of the movie. That was pretty cool. Like, okay, we get rid of that. I missed that we didn't hear him speak with that cool voice he had through his helmet, though. I really like that voice.
Yeah,
and
that was nice.
And also in the theaters where I went, there was a kid dressed as Kylo Ren with the big mask and the big lightsaber and everything. So basically 5 minutes into the movie, his costume was obsolete. Like his mask was no more good. It wasn't good anymore.
Yeah, last Halloween, my ex-team lead, he was dressed as Kylo Ren, and he has the same figure. He's quite tall, quite slender, and like whenever I saw Kylo Ren with his suit, because he had like a very, very great costume. It was like quite a great quality and everything, the fabric and everything, and I could only see Pascal like throughout the movie, so that was a bit weird.
So enough with Arch 2 or whatever. What's next?
Yeah, Actu.
Actu.
So yeah, there's just one more scene that I found interesting was the Yoda scene where Yoda appears to Luke while Luke is trying to set fire to the old tree hiding the very first or whatever the most important Jedi books and whatever. So there's a small bookcase in there with a couple of tomes, and he's trying to basically burn it out. And Yoda appears as his Force ghost and just summons lightning bolts to strike the tree and make this blazing fire. So, yeah, once again, new stuff. We didn't know that those Force ghosts could interact with the environment. They were only like appearing and chatting in previous movies. So now we know that these Force ghosts can have some kind of involvement. They should have been there couple times before. There were scenes that they could have appeared and saved the day. So yeah, not too sure about that. But yeah, it's fun to see the old Yoda, and it's the old Yoda. It's not the new one, so it's the old puppet one. So that was great. I kept hearing the seagull song in my head, so that was weird. I'll put in the show notes if you don't know what I mean. Like the Bad Lip Reading YouTube channel made a Seagull song with the Yoda and Luke scenes from the first movies. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
I like when we see him sitting down on next to Luke there and watching the big tree burn. It was like a throwback to the old movies.
Yeah, that was nice. All right, so we're back now to the squadron of First Order going after the rebellion. So they only have a couple of ships, and the plan from Vice Admiral Holdo is to evacuate the remaining resistance member using small transports. So instead of all being in that big ship, they all jump into smaller ships without weapons, without shields, and just try to go away and flee the scene, basically. That's when that's the part where Poe, Finn, and Rose actually go on a mission to try to find a code breaker to be able to break into that big First Order fleet to disable the tracking. Because right now, what happened is the very first scene they jumped to hyperspace, and when they got out of hyperspace, the First Order were right behind them. Whereas in previous movies, when you were jumping to hyperspace, you kind of ran away. Like they had no way to track you down. But somehow the First Order now has a device, a technique, where they can track you in hyperspace. So they have, before doing the last jump, because they only have a bit of fuel left. That's one more thing that I find weird. Like the concept of fuel, which we never really had. I know in the past movies, they went to buy supplies. So I was always assuming it was food, drinks, and fuel, but they never really mentioned it. But in this movie, the fuel thing is an important part because the rebellion has no more fuel. They can only make one more jump to hyperspace. And if they do so, the First Order will be just right behind them and they will be then in the water. So they cannot jump until that device is disabled. That's not the plan from Vice Admiral. So we have Poe, Finn, and Rose going to the Monaco of space to try to find a code breaker.
Okay, I would have done without this whole like scene or like this whole trip thing.
Yeah, there's always a scene with tons and tons of aliens. Like in the First Awakening, it was Maz Cantina thingy place, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's where they bring out all the costumes and all of the silicone to make face masks and everything. And that's what they did here. But the context was weird because from this big war between the First Order and the Rebellion, there are arms dealers that seem to sell weapons to both sides of the war. And that's where they all hang out. That's like the Casino Monaco rich people place. And that was weird. I agree. We could have done without these scenes. The whole thing, like get on a horse and run away and smash cars, like makes no sense for me. And like the horses are free. Yes, they are. But like for what? Like for an hour, then they're going to be catched again and brought back into the running tracks. So yeah, it's a bunch of weird things. I don't see this quite good, and that's where they try to find the codebreaker. They find him, but they're not able to contact him, so they basically resort to use a thief, which is Benicio del Toro. So that's pretty nice because I like this actor. His character is weird. He stutters, and he doesn't seem to be sure, and then he's too sure of himself sometimes. So it's pretty special. So they basically leave that Monaco place with this guy. He swears that he can break into the secret room for that detector of
light speed tracker thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And apparently also, I don't remember this, but I've heard it on podcasts. They talk about this light speed tracking thing on Rogue One when Felicity, what's her name? Ray? No, Ray's in this one.
No,
yeah, okay. So she's looking through the hard drives and whatever, and she says out loud, like light speed tracking, and then she tosses it away and she looks for the Death Star.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's something they've been working on, and they had on this planet of hard drives.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So meanwhile, we have Rey who lands on the ship, and Kylo brings her to Snoke. So now Snoke reveals that he's the guy behind the mental connection between the two. So he's the one that basically
He's force time.
He's the channel by which they were able to communicate.
He's the server that we connect to. Like when we're doing FaceTime, we go back to Apple, but when you do force time, you go back to Snoke.
And he does the handshake, and that's fine.
yeah. He authenticates both, and then he lets them speak to each other.
Ooh, that's geek talk right there. So that's basically him and how he's now super sure of himself. Snoke saying that he knows exactly the ins and out of Kylo Ren. He knows what he thinks. He knows that
he's weak.
He's weak. Yeah, he's turning his lightsaber to kill Rey and yada yada. And basically, we have one of the nicest kill scene of Star Wars history, to my opinion, where he was doing exactly what Snoke was thinking, but at the exact same time, he was doing the same thing to Rey's lightsaber, Luke's lightsaber, which was sitting right next to Snoke's on his armchair.
And
yeah, it was turning slightly, and then exactly when he thought that Kylo would strike, he basically opened the lightsaber and struck Snoke right into the stomach. So once again, bad guy being cut in half.
Yeah.
And then we have one of the nicest fight scene. Nicest for me because the red room, the setup, the drapes and everything is amazing. We have a bunch of red hooded fighters. Are these robots?
I thought they were human.
Yeah, but at one time, I don't remember if it's Rey or if it's Kylo, but they slash one's head, and of course it's metallic because they had a helmet, but I think it's all metal inside too.
Okay, they might be robots, but they look human.
They do look human. They do move like human, but yeah, I'll be waiting for the 4K version to see the details because in the cinema it was kind of a fuzzy a bit because it was during an action shot, so I wasn't able to exactly see clearly. But yeah, fight scene. They each think that the other one's going to join him. So Rey thinks that Kylo is now turned good. And Kylo thinks that Rey will join Kylo and start something new. Not the First Order, not the Jedis, but something different. So they both think that they're in the same team. So they fight together to kill all the red guards. And once they're done, they try to pull Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. And it basically breaks in half. So that's a pretty cool scene. And it's important because later on we see something about this lightsaber.
Yeah, so that was my favorite scene, hands down, I think. They're both fighting together and using like the Force and stuff to like push like enemies against each other and just working together using the Force to fight these red guards. I thought the red guards were like super strong also, but turns out they're not that good because I think they kill like 12 of them or whatever.
Yeah, 12 maybe. Yeah, maybe 8. I think 4 on each side. I think.
Anyways, that scene was really cool. I think is my favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah, and at one time the lightsaber strikes the drapes and they just start to burn down.
Yep.
And then at the end of the scene, you see the whole spectacle of the whole shipyard and everything. So you see the whole ship. So that's pretty nice.
And then after this, like you said, they both try to like. I think Kylo Ren says to Rey like, "Join me and we'll start this new thing," and she's like, "No." and then basically, and then they try to both get the Luke lightsaber and it rips in half and it breaks, right? And then
exactly.
I think like Kylo Ren is thrown back and he's knocked out of this thing.
Yeah, and that's when General Hux comes back and wakes him up, whatever, and he just says that she escaped or whatever.
And he says she killed Snoke. Yeah, the girl killed Snoke.
Yep. So Leia recovered and she's back into with a walking cane, and she basically has Poe who says that they need to like do something different. Holdo says no, we're gonna do something my way, and she basically stuns him with the stun gun that she was stunned with in the very first scenes of A New Hope. So that's cool. Little wink to the past like that.
I didn't get that one.
So yeah, we have a bunch of transports who are basically being targeted, and a couple of them are being exploded. So there's not many ships left. The small transport going far from the big ship. The big ship still has a force field, so he's shielding most of the ships, but not all of them. And that's, I think, when we know that Vice Admiral Holdo will stay behind on the big ship, and all of the remaining people will get the transport and try to go to a neighboring planet, which is a heist planet that we eventually learned that it was an old rebel hangout, and there's a base there, and very reminiscent of Hot. So that's a little wink to The Empire Strikes Back.
And I also thought that she was mean, like Haldo. I thought for sure she had something up her sleeve, and she'd turn out to be like somebody mean. But then we get that she redeems herself, in my opinion, or whatever.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, she does. She kind of had like an idea at the back of her head. It was clear that she wasn't telling everything, but she had a plan. But we didn't know if it was a good plan, a bad plan, or just a plain stupid idea. But in the case, I think, it was a good plan. So,
and also this a little more communication about your plan would have prevented a lot of stuff, like this whole going to Monaco to get the codebreaker guy. That would have fixed this.
Yeah, exactly. Because now, since they're all on transports, the moving on with light jump wasn't not an option anymore. So the whole codebreaker thing is useless, basically. So yeah, instead they could have probably just, I don't know, maybe made like a single line in front of the big chip to be protected by the First Order, and this way all the transports would be hidden away. I don't know. There could have been like better communication and a better plan in the end if everything was revealed.
Yeah, and I think now we have the scene where she's the only one left on the big ship, and she turns around, and this is the second most awesome scene of the movie, and she hyperspaced into the big ship.
Yeah. Is it already there? No, not yet. First, before that, we have Kylo declares himself the Supreme Leader. Rey is escaping. We have Finn and Rose, who were captured with BB-8 by Captain Phasma. We have a Captain Phasma fight scene.
Yeah, because they go on the ship with the codebreaker guy, and they try to.
Yeah.
They're right about to get the codebreaker guy into the whatever place he has to break the code for.
Well, he does break the code, and
right.
he is able to get in, but he also sold them to the First Order. So he basically got like a little palette full of money or something. Credits.
Palette.
Yeah.
A palette is a skid.
A skid, like a crate or whatever. Like basically lots of money or credits or whatever the currency is in that time. And he's just selling those guys, and ciao bye, I'm going away with my monies and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But then that's when they try to escape, and we have BB-8, who's quite amazing in terms of a baddie. We saw on that Monaco planet that he basically like caught the guards and tied them up, and like even stuffed their mouth with stuff just by himself. And now he's riding an amazing AT-ST, and he's shooting all the stormtroopers. So he's a pretty badass. And then Finn and Rose jump on the AT-ST, and they run away to the last ship on the deck, basically, to be able to fly away.
The ship is all on fire because the other ship just went through it using hyperspace, no? Or that's after?
I don't know. I'm not sure. One or the other. I think BB-8 caused so much damage that was the fire. But maybe you're right. Maybe Captain Holdo did her famous scene trick. Go ahead. What did she do?
Well, she turned the ship around, and they had one last jump to hyperspace left, and she put the ship right through the other ship using hyperspace. So that was like a new thing. The whole scene is done in like complete silence. And I think you're the one that showed me this sign that they were putting up in the theaters in I think it's Australia or whatever.
Yeah, it's in the EMC theaters. They had like a poster saying that at 1 hour 47 minutes there's a big scene where there's no more sound, but that's
It's
by
normal.
design. It's a creative endeavor by the director. Like,
Yeah.
come on, guys.
So it's really, really awesome. I found the
Yeah.
like the whole scene that goes completely dark, not dark, completely mute if you want, and
Yeah.
the ship just goes through the other ship.
And yeah, and
this nice
tears
clean
it
slice.
like in half. And
Yeah,
it's
a nice clean slice.
oh yeah, it's amazing. And that brings back like what happens if you do the same thing with a smaller ship? Like instead of killing themselves or just like dying of stupid ways, they could have just hyperspaced, especially those X-wings. Like instead of like trying to shoot turrets and stuff like that, they're like they're overtaken. So why not just like, okay, squadron, red squadron, let's hyperspace into the Death Star, and that would have made some kind of damage. So, anyways, it's fun, it's nice, but it just raises questions about other movies and why isn't that technique being used everywhere?
It's a suicide bomber tactic.
Yeah, but quite an effective one.
Yeah. Okay, so that happens. They all get back to this ice planet. It's a bring back to Hoth and the Empire Strike Back. And I think now everybody's back, including Rey.
Yeah, everybody is there. Rey is there. She wasn't able to convince Luke, and she basically said, "F that," and she went back to the rebellion.
And now, for the first time, Rey and Poe meet. I think yes.
Yep. And yeah, and we also have one more creature, the ice dogs or whatever.
Yep.
So
They look
they're
like a
pretty nice.
Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
But how come didn't Rey and Poe meet after at the end of the Force Awakens?
Yeah, they probably met because
Rey meets Leia.
yeah, but only when they get to Maz place.
But she gets the plans with R2D2 and all that, and they're in that big like base with R2.
Yeah,
But why don't they meet? Poe's not back from the battle yet or something? And she leaves
I think
before?
something like that. Yeah, and she leaves before he gets back.
Okay.
She leaves to Ankto, and yeah, that's probably why. It's just a matter of it just didn't happen.
Okay, because I forgot when they met. I was like, what do you mean you didn't meet? There was a whole other movie before this. Why didn't you meet?
Yeah, but as opposed to the previous movies, in between the movies, there was nothing. Because one movie's end and the other one starts at the same time. So if she wasn't there when the movie ended, then she wasn't able to meet him. All right, so they're hiding in that base. They're trying to hold steady. The big door goes down, and then we see at the horizon a bunch of ships from the First Order, a bunch of AT-ATs, and also one super humongous large cannon, which is basically like a ram that's gonna ram the door with a super strong, super wide beam, and they have to take it down. So what do? They take out those little speeder vessels, whatever, with a leg that are basically making that amazing red dust, because this ice planet is covered in ice, but below the ice there's like salt and it's red. So whenever you walk or you just whoosh away the ice, you see red matter. So there's red crystals everywhere and everything, but those little speeder bikes with their little foot, they're basically gliding around and making like a cloud of smoke behind them that's red. So that's pretty nice. And that's one thing we saw in the teaser when I saw the very first teaser of Star Wars.
Yeah, it's a very nice visual.
Yeah, the cinematic effects in that scene, well, in those scenes on the planet, is amazing. So that's pretty great. So yeah, basically they're trying to get that cannon, and Finn is basically the last one, or just one of the two left. He says there's no one left. Basically, I need to just ram into that cannon and use my little ship as a missile and get this to explode. But then, luckily or unluckily, Rose comes in from the side. I don't know how she made it, like with this angle, but yeah, but she basically rams him on the side.
Yeah, she sideswipes him.
Yeah, and both ships are broken down, and she's like, "I had to save you, dummy," whatever, and then she kisses him. So she was in love. Yeah,
that whole scene.
The whole reasoning is awful. Like, no, just no. It's so like such a thin character, just because he's such a hero. I'm in love. Like, come on, girl. Like,
come on, girl.
Especially after the whole like let's free the horse scene, like no, I don't like the character. She's like, she doesn't have any substance. Like, we have such a strong character with Rey, and we have her that she suffered. She thinks everyone is bad in that Monaco place, and they must free the horses. So like, she's full of good intentions, but
There's a bunch of kids. Free the kids. Never mind the
yeah,
horses. They're free both.
Exactly. Anyways, I hated that scene, but now she's dead, right?
No.
Is she? No, I don't remember.
I mean,
Anyways.
see, me too. I forgot because roses. I don't know. I don't really like that whole thing.
Yeah. No, I think Finn brings her back to the base. So I don't know how he runs in front of those AT-ATs, but he basically is able to outrun them.
Finn is fast, okay?
Yeah, he's fast for running.
Finn is
running
fast.
away.
Runs fast, okay? That's
Yeah.
it. Stop asking questions. And then, so they're all trying to escape, or they're all stuck in the base, and they want to escape, and the little things show them the way. That's how it works.
Yeah, the little foxes are scared, so they run away. And one time, I think Poe realized, hey, where are the foxes or the dogs or whatever? And they decided to
follow them,
and they find one that's still there. And if they bring them to the deep down in the base, and then there's a bunch of boulders, and the foxes are able to like slid between the rocks and go out. And then everyone is like, oh my God, we have to go, but it's all blocked and we don't have time to like phase her out or explode the rocks. And that's when Rey comes back, and she's on the other side, and she basically force lifts all the rocks and everybody can go out. So that's pretty nice.
On the other side, why is the Millennium Falcon on the other side of that rock place?
No clue. I guess Force told them.
Okay. And then I think Chewie's on that thing, no? Chewie's on the Millennium Falcon.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's driving it.
So they said, okay, Chewie, you stay outside and we'll just go in this huge bunker and you stay outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And that's when we have Luke, who appears and pays a visit to Leia to give her the golden dices from Han Solo's ship.
Yes, the golden dices that we only see in A New Hope and we never see after that, but they're back now.
Yeah, exactly. At least they were there.
Somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
He took them off and he just put them in like a little storage cubby inside the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. And then, we have Luke who goes outside, and then we have Kylo Ren in the big AT-AT saying, okay, fire at him, fire at will. Or
fire
blah, blah, blah.
everything
So,
or all the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone fires at Luke, and then the fire stops, and Luke is still standing there, unscathed.
And he brushes off his shoulder or something like that's it.
Yeah, like, that's all you got. So yeah, one more piece of humor probably from Mark Hamill, so that's nice. This one's nice though. It's just a little wink.
And also the guy from I forget his name all the time. The guy from Harry Potter says, "You
General
think that's
Hux.
enough? You think that's enough, or something like that."
Yeah, exactly, because he doesn't really trust Kylo Ren anymore.
Okay, and then at this point, did you think that Luke was dead? I for sure no, and I was like, oh, nice, he's reached like this new level in the Force, and he can block everything like he's doing now, like a little bit like just Leia, like Leia did before, like this force field thing. I was like, okay, so we're reusing this new thing.
Yeah, that, or he basically, I don't know, like lightsaber ricocheted everything to the ground.
Yeah.
There's something happened that he basically blocked everything. But then we saw him like light his lightsaber, and that is weird because I'm like, hey, just a few minutes ago it got torn down by Rey and Kylo Ren. So how come he still has his lightsaber? So that was something that really bugged me, and I didn't realize at this point when Kylo goes down from the AT-AT and he goes to do a face-off with Luke, that Kylo moves his foot and that makes a red streak on the ground. Luke does the same thing, but there's no streak. So I didn't realize at this point that this was not really Luke. It basically was just a force projection.
But you caught on the lightsaber. I didn't catch the lightsaber at all. I didn't catch that he was all nice and pretty now. He had dyed his beard and cut his hair or something like that.
Yeah, that I realized too. He was nice. So I was like, okay, before going back, he
shaved
groomed himself a bit. Yeah, he asked the frog girls to
a little grooming,
to make him a little grooming. Yeah, little beard oil and stuff. So yeah. So the nice little fight there. So it's cool to see Mark Hamill do a little fight scene. I kind of saw that he wasn't super flexible, so because the guy is old and he's not able to move as quickly as a young guy like Adam Driver, but still he was able to keep it up and give us a good fight scene there. And then basically I think he says something like, I will not let you kill me, because if you kill me you'll regret it for the rest of your life or something. And he basically fades away. So I'm like,
but
that is weird.
No, he strikes him through the stomach there, but he's a force
but
ghost.
It does nothing. It does nothing.
Right.
Whereas in the past with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, we basically, like, they were stricken and they died and disappeared. But this time he got his lightsaber through his chest and he looked inside it and there's nothing. He's still there, and he does it to a second time. And then that's when he just like vanishes.
Okay, see, I'm super stupid, and I didn't realize that he was just force projecting all this time. I was like, oh man, he has like this superpower. He can like he can get a lightsaber through the chest and like deflect it and whatever. I was like, man, Luke is super strong. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's when I said, there's something wrong. He cannot be there. Like, he must be like in the bunker hiding and force projecting like outside or something. But that's when we realized that he's basically on the pedestal, levitating and like projecting himself across the galaxy to that fight scene. But he wasn't there really. And you see him breathe and full of sweat and super weak.
Yeah, like really working out.
Yeah, and he basically just vanishes, and you see his robe go out with the wind. So that's the end of Luke.
Yeah. When I rewatch it, you're supposed to look at CP3O. Also, he gets on that Luke is not the real Luke, and so then people are asking, wait, do these like droid have the Force and are able to sense the Force or something like that? Because CP3O is all agitated.
Yeah, he probably just has like a sensor, and he sees that there's no heartbeat or something.
Yeah,
like no blood pressure or stuff that your Apple Watch can see. Basically, he can see through his eyes or other sensors, and he knows that there's something wrong. Like, if that's Luke, because he sees Luke, but there's no human being in there. So
he has a little heat sensor, like infrared heat sensor that you can buy at Canadian Tire, and he has that, and he points it on Luke, and he's like, "Hey, there's nothing here. It's cold."
All right, so that's basically it. Then Leia reassures everyone that the rebellion has to rise again. We see a glimpse of the Falcon, and we also see that Rey stole the books before Yoda burned them. So she still has the Jedi books.
And also that's why Yoda said she has everything she needs or something like that, because she stole the books, I guess.
Full circle. And then we see one of the kids from the stable at the Monaco town basically reach for a broom, and Force like catches it and then start to sweep, and then raises it like if it was a lightsaber, and we see his ring that he was given to by Poe. Was it Poe? Yeah, or Finn, whatever. And that ring has a hidden rebellion icon there.
I hated that scene.
Well, I was half and half. Like, we needed something like to show hope, just to circle back to A New Hope, and to show us that there's something new that's brewing and something new is going to come. And that was a nice little wink, I would say.
That whole scene was the same thing as when the kissing scene with Rose. Ugh. All I have to say about that is ugh.
Yeah, some part of this movie was weird, but all in all, I think it was pretty great. The only thing I really regret was that there's no explanation done. Like, it's a good middle movie with a bunch of actions and a bunch of character development going on, but not great for details.
Yeah, and basically the whole rebellion is the size of like 12 people that fit in the Millennium Falcon, or 20 people or something. Like, the whole rebellion is on one ship now, so it's pretty sparse.
Yeah, but probably they're gonna raise again from people from the outside rim and stuff like that, so we'll see. So what do you think about Leia being the only person that is actually dead in real life, but she's the only one that lives on to the next movie?
Yeah, that's what people have been saying. Everybody gets their movie. Like, Han Solo got his movie. like Harrison Ford. I mean, he got his movie
Yeah,
and he died in the first. Now the second is Luke. The second should have been Leia, and then the third should be Luke to make it like the super
yeah,
Jedi thing dies at the end. But now Leia's gonna have to die somewhat. I don't know how they're gonna do it in the third.
yeah. Well, the third one
Probably
probably won't be following in the footsteps of the previous one. Like there's
she
gonna be like
can't.
a
She can't. They can't kill her off screen.
well, they can. They probably gonna have some rebel going sideways and being bought by the First Order and kill her as a assassin or something. Because I don't see how they can bring her back. And they already said that they do not want to bring her back as a CGI character. So they need to do something with that.
Yeah. But I think they have to. They have to kill her off.
Yeah, they will. They will kill her off screen, and we'll just start a new movie, and then people will be sobbing, and
No. I mean, they have to kill her on screen. I mean, it sounds so bad. Yeah, she has to die on screen.
Yeah, but how? How?
I don't know. They might like piece up a couple of old footage of the Falcon, and then you can't kill the Falcon, so put her in like another ship and make that ship explode or something.
Yeah, we'll see. They're gonna find something, because I know that J.J. Abrams is back for the last one, so we'll probably see lots of little winks to the previous trilogy, and he's gonna piece something together. He's pretty creative, I heard.
And also, this was going to be the last one, and it's confirmed that Rian Johnson, the director of this movie, is getting a separate trilogy also.
Yep, exactly. So it's a brand new own trilogy there.
So how do you think is this going to play out? Like, they're going to do big trilogies and a bunch of standalone movies like they're doing right now? Like, they're just going to redo what has been going on for the past 3 years? Or what's going to go on for this 4-year period? Or no, 3-year period?
Yeah, so Rian Johnson works on his trilogy, which will come out in 2021, I'm guessing. And in the meantime, we'll get episode 9, and we'll get Star Wars stories every odd year. And that will continue like that. One year it's a story, 1 year it's a movie.
So
at least for
even year.
4 next years. 4 next movies. So 4 times 2, so 8. We still have like about 7 or 8 years left. Does it make sense?
This is going to be so hard to explain to people.
Yeah. Well, it's all a Star Wars movie. It's all canon. Just follow it up.
What's canon? What do you mean canon?
It canon means it fits the accepted and authorized historical facts. So something that's not canon is like Chewie getting the Force and becoming a Jedi. That I think happened in some books, but that wasn't canon. That wasn't respecting the guidelines, if you want, of the original scenarios and everything.
Okay.
So for Leia having children's with Han Solo makes sense, because in the books it happens, and that was canon. However, they had 2 kids, and this movies we only have 1. So she also has a daughter normally. And she becomes quite good with the Force, and I think she's also becomes one of the teachers at the Jedi Academy. So there's a bunch of things that was supposed to be canon that are they still canon or not? I don't know, but
they're not based off the book.
No. It's just that the books were based off a set of facts and a set of guidelines that could like mean that whatever you're doing in those areas, as long as you follow these main ideas, you're safe.
Okay. Like the books were branching off episode 6.
Yeah, everything in between, everything before, after. There's a big part of the Empire being fought by Han Solo kids. But in this scenario, Kylo is not such a good kid. So anyways, it's lots of things happening in the books.
What's your favorite scene of this movie?
The Red Room fight scene, for sure. And the ship exploding, cutting in half the First Order juggernaut there. So
okay.
Both scenes are amazing.
Yeah, me too. And where do you think this is going? Like, what's going to be episode 9?
I have no clue, seriously. I guess rebuilding the rebellion, trying to get allies, probably get some fundings. I don't know. Maybe go back to Benicio del Toro and finish him. I don't know.
Because it has to end. We need closure in the next movie.
Yeah. Well, either we need closure or we need an opening for the next trilogy.
Oh, come on. Like, close it, please. Give us answers.
Never It will never answer. It will never close.
Yeah, but close, but leave openings, but please close.
Yeah, I wished. I don't know. It can be anything. This one surprised me a lot, so the next one could be even more surprising.
Do you think Kylo Ren's gonna die in the next one?
Um,
Because the bad guy has to die.
well, not necessarily, because Kylo is more a well-rounded character, I would say, because we keep thinking of Jedi as purely light, purely positive being. But starting with Anakin, we see that there's both light and dark in the single person, and it's always a matter of balance. Same thing with Luke. He was able to balance to the light side. Anakin was balancing to the dark side. Kylo is really on the edge. So I'm thinking that Kylo could become good and use that failure to teach younglings and Padawans, which is, by the way, getting added to the dictionary, I heard.
Yes, I saw.
So that's nice. You will be able to use Padawan outside Star Wars context from now on, so that's great. So basically, he's going to become good. He's going to help out. He's going to be able to be a better teacher because the attractiveness of the dark side is present and it's there. And it has not to be ignored. It has to be embraced and understood and processed. So I'm thinking that he's going light side. All right, so that's it for this episode. I don't know if it's going to be how it's going to be linked on the site, but it's going to be a bonus episode. So it's not going to be in our Canon numbering that we usually have. So it's going to be slightly different. So we'll see how Fireside handles that for us. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk again in a bonus episode probably next May after the Han Solo story.
Yeah, I'm really excited now that it's next May. I didn't know. I thought it would be next, like a Christmas.
Yeah, I'm super hyped too. It's Han Solo.
It's 5 months.
Although it's 5 months. It's super close, so it's gonna be a new Star Wars every 5-6 months. So that's great.
Okay,
all right.
See you then.
See you then. May the Force be with you.